Hey people, welcome to the channel, and in this case, I'll be talking about Donald Trump. Some of the things he has said, some of the things he has done, some of the things that he has said and done that I agree with him and I think are very positive for the American people, for the entire world even. Some of the things, especially lately, that he's been saying and doing that, well, we'll go through that. Now, this is something I've actually done with my own president, Javier Milei, president of Argentina, who in general, especially in terms of economy, given that Argentina is a country that has gone through a lot, economically speaking, a country that is still was left after the economic collapse, which I've written about, which you have my books there to read if you're interested in learning about all this stuff. So very positive things, and then things that are screw-ups, either things that I don't agree with him, or things that are without question a mistake, like backing a meme coin that was basically a rug-pulling pump-and-dump scam. Now, it is the case that Donald Trump has had a meme coin of his own. He has sold NFTs. The person involved in the Javier Milei meme coin scandal is actually the same one that did Melania's Trump meme coin. That was also a very similar operation. Basically, if you're dumb enough to put your money into a meme coin, you get kind of scammed, basically. That's how it goes. It's not exactly a crime, but you've been taking advantage because you fell for it, right? So, guys, this is what I have to do. This is what I do. I write videos. Everything I do is about survival and preparedness. For that, you need an objective perspective of things. You cannot be a fanboy, right? You may vote one way. You may vote for Javier Milei. You may vote for Donald Trump. Hell, if you've been here long enough, you know that when that man got shot in the ear, I said that man is now the new president of the United States. Many people in the comments were saying, no, the Democrats will steal the election, Fernando. You don't know because you're not American. You don't know. I never know a damn shit. I'm always an idiot. But you know what? I was right. As it's generally the case, basically, in most of these things, right? Time proves you right, and then people forget about it. Oh, well, no, I said that he would win because it was not only was the moment very emblematic and it was clear what he was going against. Honestly, on the other side, you had fucking Kamala Harris, right? How could you? But yeah, so I was right about that. When it came down to it, I made without telling anyone to go vote this or that, I made my position quite clear about, you probably don't want to vote for Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. It's going through to a very dark path. Now, do I love Trump? Do I think he's the best, most handsome, strongest man in the universe? The most beautiful creature? No, I don't think that. I think he's a flawed human being like everyone else, and he does some things right, and he does some things that are not right or not good. One of the things I definitely agree with him in terms of government spending slashing, that is going to be massive. Will Elon Musk cut the military spending by half? I hope he does. That would be huge, not only for the American taxpayer, but for the entire world. You need to focus on yourself. Hell, I will even agree with people that say, you know what, I don't want to be financing NATO. Dude, I think that everyone should take care of themselves. The United States should focus on defending the United States, and European countries should focus on defending their own countries, and I think that's the way it should be. That would avoid a lot of this, government building, spreading democracy, and fighting terrorism around the world. All of that nonsense. I think it's a lot wiser to just stick to your thing. By the way, there's been latest developments with fighting cartels in Mexico now being declared a terrorist group. That opens a massive window. I don't know if many Americans are aware. That's going to be green lighting any kind of intervention in Mexico. Will Mexico be okay with that? Will Mexico not be okay with that? How will the American people feel about it? How will the Mexican people feel about all of a sudden getting bombed? Which is something that is now on the table, by the way. Yes, once you declare a group a terrorist organization, once the United States government declares any group a terrorist organization, you can do drone strikes, you can just go in there and go after them, and that's usually going to involve people getting hurt on the other side of this mess as well. And there's always going to be the Anyway, I don't want to make the video super long, but those of you that know what I'm talking about understand what just happened with this new development. Now, in terms of Trump aligning itself with Russia, and I'll go through a few points. Let me know. These are points that you can't argue much against them. First, the way in which Trump is aligning himself with Putin, Russia, especially giving the statements by Vice President J.D. Vance days ago in Europe, and Trump cozying up and getting very close and friendly with Russia and Putin. I mean, it's not just the peace talks in which, well, your allies in plural are not even invited to, and you're calling them out on not having freedom of expression and freedom of any kind in Europe. Well, apparently you don't have that same problem with Russia, which is a little bit rich. Look, so first of all, the alignment shift here beyond doubt. Let me know if you think, no, Fernando, you're getting this completely wrong. Trump is not aligning with Russia. He's not he's not now buddies with Putin and Russia. I think it is, but let me know if you have a different opinion. The Trump lies, that some of these are just outlandish. Yes, Trump has always been, and who was defending? It was Jordan Peterson. This is one of the things that I get it. I know why he says it, because he doesn't want to alienate his audience, which I'm not all that great at, because I'm just the way I am. I'm very transparent, and this is the way I talk. This is the way this is the way I believe is super important to be, because of what I do. Right? Because of what I do, because of what I write about, because this channel is still very much all about survival and preparedness. And for that, you need to know what's happening. You need to objectively, without any passions, without any affinity, right, say, okay, this is what it is. I can like it or not, support it or not, but this is what it is. So what it is that Trump just said that millions of people had died in this war. That is simply not true. No one, and I mean literally no one, on either Ukraine or Russia says that these are the real numbers. In fact, you could even argue that, well, of course they're lying, Fernando. Why would Putin admit that he lost maybe twice the troops that he did lose? Or Ukraine, for that matter, admit that too. Well, I get that. I do get it. But there's nowhere online, and there's crazy, insanity, stupid things said online. Nowhere online will you find any number that gets even close to millions, as in multiples of million people, as in at the very least, Trump said literally several times, time and time again, he repeats that millions of people have died in this war. That is simply not true. If you are at the least informed, you know that is not true. He's not a crazy drunk guy on the streets saying these things. He's the president of the United States saying something that we all know it's not true. Number one. All of the cities in Ukraine have been leveled, and buildings and the beautiful domes, everything has been destroyed in Ukraine. That is simply not true. He doubles down on this by saying that Ukraine is worse than Gaza. There is nothing left in Gaza. And by the way, that's another can of worms that you don't even want to open, but there's nothing left in Gaza. It has all been leveled. It is all rubble. That's not the case of Ukraine. You can see live feed cameras. You can see people visiting the capital, while even being attacked right now. But you can see that it's not true. It's simply not true that all of the cities in Ukraine have been leveled and it's all worse than Gaza, which is something that he has said multiple times. And he goes into stuff like Zelensky is a dictator. Well, he was democratically elected and he is holding on elections approved by his own parliament, so it's all perfectly legal. And it's months since he should have had an election? And no, usually when you're being invaded, that is not the situation in which you can have fair elections in any country. If you have 20% of your territory taking over, you're being bombed. No, it is super understandable, and I completely get why Parliament legally allowed him to not do the elections when he was supposed to. You're talking about months. Now, you don't see a problem with your best friend in the world, Vladimir Putin, being president of that country for 25 years? That is that is without question a dictator. He wins every single time with 90% of the support. It doesn't matter how much he wins by. He is in power for 25 years. Not only that, he openly murders the opposition. He openly murders opposition and he brags about it. Why? Well, because he does it in trademark fashion, using poison, using methods so as to scare people into, you know what, if you run against me, I just kill you. And he laughs about it. And that is apparently not a problem for Trump or JD Vance. JD Vance is more worried about freedom of expression in Europe, which, don't get me wrong, the idea of someone getting arrested in UK is despicable because you posted a UK flag online and you get arrested for that? Well, that is stupid and dangerous. And yes, I think you don't have much freedom in that country at all, right? It's not the same for every single country in Europe. In fact, if you look at it politically, it's not even within the European Union anymore. Germany has had some nasty shit go down in terms of liberty. I talked about this all the time in the channel. It's not the first time we talked about these things. Now, you have a problem with that, which I do agree with. But you don't have a problem with Putin and Russia? You think that's a free society? Again, these things are simply not true. Putin not only I have a list here because so much. Putin didn't only just stop the war, attack civilians, committed massacres in different cities. He steals kids, openly so, because he says that these kids need to be sent to re-education camps. And he stole thousands of children. That is as low as a human being can get. This is the new buddy, the best friend of the United States, Russia, and Vladimir Putin, right? But at the same time, Zelensky is a dictator. It is kind of difficult to deal with that. It's not true. This is why Vladimir Putin, he's a war criminal. He should be. He is one, right? This is not something you have much of an argument against, right? If you compare the speech that you saw from JD Vance, criticizing so many things in Europe, this and that. I mean, that's against what apparently is not even brought up, not even a question. Can you even say, does Trump even admit that Putin is a dictator? Look, this is something that I'm so familiar with. For years, the test for are you full of shit or not in my country in Argentina was, hey, you know what? That Nicolás Maduro, that Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, is he a dictator or not? Every single time that someone is aligned with that regime, with that, no, they will never admit it. They will never admit that the dictator in Venezuela is a dictator. They cannot, because if they say that, they are immediately on the other side, and they want to be on that side. This is kind of like the same deal, unfortunately. Why is it that the President of the United States cannot admit that the obvious dictator is a dictator? We all see it. There's no doubt, there's no question here. He's been ruling that place for 25 years and murders people that oppose him, openly so, or imprisons them in brutal fashion and then just tortures them. It is insane. But that's a country in which apparently there's no problem at all with the war it starts, with the lack of freedom that it has. And you may go like, well, let everyone be, all right. But then again, you're getting involved in this. You're, in theory, looking for peace when it's honestly a lot more like, okay, there's a surrender deal that we want to sign, and it's mostly about how we will rip apart this country that you're invading, and I'm backing you in doing so for resources. Which brings me to another thing that I see here all the time, which is United States has been paying into Europe and Ukraine. Well, first of all, this thing that he says all the time, we've been paying so much. Trump said another lie, that he's been paying so much more into the security of Ukraine. No, it is Europe that's been paying more, and it should be like that. But that does not change that he's lying about it. Europe has given a lot more money to Ukraine than the United States. The other thing that is critical, and I have done videos about this years ago, the United States is not giving a damn thing. The United States is selling to Ukraine, in case you haven't figured that out. There's only one country in the world that the United States has always given to without any expectations of getting paid back, and hasn't sold, but just given away. There's only one country that is leeching out of the United States for years and years and years nonstop and has not changed now, ironically enough. The only country that when Trump and Elon Musk cut away everything, there is one thing that stayed there. You look it up. I'm not even going to say it because at this point, if you don't know, maybe you don't even deserve to know what I'm talking about. You should remain in the dark regarding these things. There's only one country, guys. That country is never going to pay you back. In the case of Ukraine, it is a deal. I'm selling you weapons at retail price, and I'm expected to get paid back. Yes, that's always how these things work when the United States gets involved. The United States, Europe was up until recently paying for World War II. You think all of that was what? Free? You think the United States just gives free stuff? Again, only one country that gets that. The rest, you will have to pay for it. You will have to pay retail price for the weapons that we're giving to Ukraine. Right? Ukraine will have to pay back all of that retail price of weapons that anyway were going to end up in the bottom of the ocean, in the bottom of the sea, or would be sold as scrap to some other country or just simply destroyed, which is something that happens all the time because you need the machine to go on. You need to have new military contracts. You need to make new weapons. The old weapons get sold. Argentina bought a bunch of planes from, where was it, Denmark, F-16? I don't know. And it was a good deal because Javier Milei, one of the positive things that he did was, first of all, had good relationships with the United States, and he managed to land a deal, I think it was with Denmark, but because those planes are American, it needs to be authorized by the U.S. government. So, because Javier Milei is close with Trump, he got that authorization. He ends up buying at a very good price a bunch of nice little planes, right? And Argentina now has a more decent fleet of planes. What for invading Malvinas and going to war with UK? No. Actually, it's desperately needed because there is an invasion from China in Argentina, where they're just stealing from the coasts of Argentina, which is very shallow, right within its territorial waters. It is like very shallow water, very very deep until very very shallow until you leave the territorial waters, and then it goes deep. But the fishing is a lot better in those shallow waters, and that's why there's thousands of Chinese boats constantly stealing all the time from Argentine coast. Argentina needs to improve its national security because there is a threat like that, and you need to take care of it because if not, it just gets worse and worse. So building up on that at a good price, that's always good. But no, going back to this thing of, we just gave them, no, guys, these are contracts and this is money that will be made. For each one of those missiles that cost maybe 2-3 times as much than it costs if you had bought European, right? That's a great deal. That's a lot of money that's going to go into the, and I get it. I would do the same thing. If I'm the president of the United States and I have this opportunity to sell my overpriced weapons to someone that desperately needs them, yeah, I will do it. Why wouldn't you? Okay? Oh, but it is business. At the end of the day, it is business. But a lot of people think, we just gave away. No. You had a great business opportunity and you took it. You needed to replace a bunch of tanks, which you can see the videos on YouTube about how you have a plane carrier, right? You have a giant ship with a bunch of tanks that is being thrown into the ocean, right? And now it's not being thrown into the ocean or sold for scrap. It's being sold to Ukraine at a very nice price, right? Because they don't have much of a choice and they have to agree with whatever you say. And I mean, this is why you have envoys from the United States in Ukraine discussing, okay, what rare earth minerals are you going to pay us back with? When at the same time, it's negotiating with Russia how you're going to strip those same resources. We have a very weird situation going on. And this is just a small drop in the bucket of an international scenario where everything has shifted. You now have this tariff war going on. I think that's going to hurt a lot more to the American middle class than a lot of people realize. That's not going to be cheap, guys. That's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. And the more of this thing you have, Jordan Peterson was saying, no, this is how Trump is. He just stirs the pot and says these things. Jordan Peterson was being asked about, hey, what do you think about Trump annexing Canada as the 51st state? And Jordan Peterson, who's not an idiot, he's actually a clever person, he just, weaseled his way around that uncomfortable question of, hey, what do you think about your neighbor invading you and taking over your country? He was like, well, Trump says these things, he just says things and just throws an anchor like very far away, and if he gets like halfway through, that is the art of the deal, the art of the deal. And then when he says he's going to invade Greenland and Panama, he's just doing these things so as to reach. This is different. This is not the same thing, especially with all of these simply things being said by the president are not true. It puts you in a very complicated position of why is it? What is it? Not knowing. I saw him have somewhat of a similar situation when talking about Spain being part of the BRICS. He thought that Spain, the S in Spain was because of BRICS. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China. How can the president of the United States not know what BRICS is and think that S stands for Spain instead of it was South Africa? He obviously didn't know that. He had a somewhat exchange, a little bit of a conversation going on there, and he honestly believed that. So I don't know, man. I don't know if it's him not knowing, him just saying these things, if it's the art of the deal, like, yeah, this is how I negotiate. Negotiate what? How you're gonna position yourself against your allies, which they're not anymore, because I think that was made super clear. NATO is no more. It makes no sense anymore. So that is dead in the water already. NATO, it has no. And he had been honest about this, and I agree with the idea of it should not be. But what goes on now with your so-called allies? I mean, with your allies, you're now allied, but without having without NATO. We don't have any mutual defense agreement anymore. We have this thing where, besides that, I just choose to go into a tariff war with you, which may be necessary. Maybe some things need to be rebalanced. Maybe a little bit more politically correctness would have been appreciated by everyone involved here. But that is yet another thing. So you have that. You have the economic aspect. Then you have I go into your countries and just point out that, you suck and you're terrible and you're worrying about Russia invading you when you're your own enemy, basically, right? So doing that at the same time that I don't point the same things from the actual real dictator and aggressor in all of this scenario. It is very weird, man. I don't know if you see it the same way. Again, let me know in the comments. I really like to know you guys' opinion. I get that there's a lot of people that maybe these things are, but maybe it's uncomfortable. Maybe it's not pleasant. But there's lots of things in terms of being an adult and analyzing international politics and all of these things that are not. So, I'd love to hear your opinion, guys, regarding everything that I just talked about. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to learn more about all of this stuff and how to prepare for what's happening, you have my books and the channel for more content. See you later, folks. Take care.